flower. Oh my gosh, look at that. Did you see that? The house and, so...
I'm in Bryony's room and suddenly I hear these dainty footsteps.
What
was so hilarious about this situation was I didn't have many clothes.
No.
And Kay had the best dream.
Oh gosh, this was hilarious. So just keep going until you've put like a nice sausage.
Can you imagine if you could do that like socks, toe up, fingertip up?
Fingertip up. Why would you do that? That would just be like... So we did fall asleep and I had a dream whilst I was sleeping on the sofa that I was sleeping on the sofa with Dan, right?
Who does that? There isn't a right and a left sleeve, thankfully.
No, they're both the same, darling. Why would they be different? Why would they be different? I'll just have a little moment.
Welcome, everybody, to the Bakery Bears video show featuring the second nail-biting episode.
Nail-biting?
Of Kays Handmade Christmas. Oh my goodness. Kays Handmade Christmas is, of course, the series which debuted last episode.
Yes.
With those gorgeous mince pies.
Yummy.
And do you know what, in my humble opinion,
yeah,
what takes those mince pies and sends them into the stratosphere is the amazing pastry.
Pastry was fabulous.
And it's sort of back this time, isn't it?
Kind of.
My goodness, you've been cooking up all sorts of wondrous things in your Spelt kitchen.
I know. Yeah, we're like a walking advert for Spelt, aren't we? We are not sponsored by Spelt.
It's the discovery. Thank you so much.
It's been
all stemmed from the einkorn. Because you started with einkorn.
Yeah, that's right. I did start with einkorn,
which was also good.
It was good, but
robust.
It was quite robust. And then I discovered that Spelt is really good. It's an alternative, if you like, for people that are a bit sensitive to gluten. It does have gluten, so it's not for people who can't eat gluten. But if it's just a sensitivity you've got, like we're just a bit sensitive to normal gluten, then it's been brilliant. We find we can eat it because we have Spelt pasta as well, and we eat that with no problem.
You were still making that einkorn bread last October.
Was I?
You were. So it's really been November, December, January, just this coming into this year that we've properly discovered it. Or you did.
Well, I did.
How I could possibly say we. All I've done is eat it and love it.
It's funny, isn't it? Because I think einkorn is also an ancient grain, I think.
Yes.
And I think it's really interesting that these ancient grains, because Spelt came over with the Romans, as I understand it.
Yeah, they used to carry it with them, didn't they?
Yeah, I think it's interesting that these ancient grains are the ones that certainly suit us, and I know that from sort of when I've looked into it, suit a lot of people rather than the more modern wheats.
Yes.
I think that's really interesting because, I think us as a species, I don't think we really go as fast as kind of technology goes.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, no, I agree.
I think sometimes these old remedies and old things can suit your constitution better.
Absolutely. I mean, most definitely. Speaking of suiting constitutions, I wonder how many people's constitutions were suited by what they ate for Thanksgiving.
Oh, yes.
Because it has, of course.
Thanksgiving's just happened. I hope you all had a wonderful time if you celebrated.
Who was celebrating.
Yeah.
And we happened to mention on our Patreon-only show, which came out on Sunday, we mentioned the great stuffing and dressing debate.
Yeah.
And we won't get into it here at all, but oh my goodness, I've never seen so many people get... Heated wasn't the right word.
No, not heated. They just wanted to tell us what they called it.
My goodness, it went crazy.
Because we didn't know what dressing was. And you've just recently, you heard it on an American football podcast.
I was listening to an American football podcast, and they said, they were talking about what they went to get when they went up, for their Thanksgiving. Oh, well, I get a bit of turkey, bit of potatoes, bit of dressing. What?
And Dan was like, what?
So I went and looked it up, found out it's another word for stuffing.
It's another word for stuffing.
Amazing.
And we weren't aware of this at all. So
we were not.
We had a good old chat with our patrons about it on Sunday. It was really
hilarious.
Really interesting and really fun. And I think it basically just depends where you are in America, and maybe what you grew up with, and things like that, as to what you call it.
Now, of course, hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Hope the last 2 weeks for you have been marvellous, because for us, it hasn't.
Oh gosh, what a time of it.
It has, actually. Do you know what? We said we're never going to forget it, and we're not.
This was the great storm of,
2021.
It was Storm Arwen, I think they named it.
I've never in my life... Now, there is one occasion in the 80s when I think we had winds of similar or probably higher amounts. I've never seen anything like it.
I don't recall anything as bad as this, certainly whilst we've been living here, and certainly in my sort of adult memory, I don't remember winds like this. It was through the night as well. It was like Thursday.
Insane.
Was it Thursday night or Friday night? It was one of those, I forget which.
So off we go to bed. Winds at a fairly high level.
Yeah, they were around about 40, weren't they? Gusting at 40 miles an hour. Yeah.
But then they rose up to in the 60s, and that was while we were asleep.
Wow.
But then the wind... initially it woke up our daughter Bryony because that's the direction the wind was coming in where her bedroom is, and she just couldn't get back to sleep.
She couldn't get back to sleep because of the noise, and that's never happened. She normally sleeps through everything, fireworks,
hurricanes,
everything. And
we never had a hurricane.
She woke up about 1 a.m. and she came in and she just went, I just can't get back to sleep. We were like, right, okay, what do we do? So
we came to the conclusion that Bryony should stay with her mum and I should go into Bryony's room, which we did.
Yeah.
I laid there for 40 minutes trying to go to sleep. Wasn't happening.
No.
And then I heard dainty footsteps.
Well, Bryony seemed to get back to sleep fine. I was in the bed with her and she seemed to get off to sleep fine. She thought it was weird being in the bed with me. She went, is this weird that we're in the bed together? I said, no, not for me. It's quite nice, quite like it. But I couldn't get back to sleep. I just couldn't. I was listening to the wind and I was worried about the house and, so
I'm in Bryony's room and suddenly I hear these dainty footsteps.
Oh, wow.
Going down the stairs, and I was like, oh, thank goodness.
This was
because I literally laid there for the same amount of time that Kay had.
It was about 2:30, I think, at this point. And I just thought, well, do you know what? I'm just going to get up.
Yeah.
Bryony's asleep. I thought Dan was asleep. I thought, look, I'm just going to get up. But of course, I went downstairs, and then you followed me downstairs.
I did. I was like, oh, thank goodness. I don't have to lay here.
I said, why are you up as well?
Because I can't sleep.
Dan couldn't sleep because it was in Bryony's bed, which is too short for him, and I wasn't there, and he couldn't sleep. And I couldn't sleep because I was worried about the wind. So
what was so hilarious about this situation was I didn't have many clothes.
No.
And we couldn't get into our room to get them because obviously our daughter was asleep in there. So Kay went off and tried to rustle up some clothes from the clothes dryer.
From the airer. Yeah, I'd got some clothes drying.
You managed
in
to source a t-shirt
in a spare room, and there was a t-shirt in there. So I gave Dan a t-shirt. So we then t-shirt and boxer shorts on.
So we then got many, many blankets. Thank goodness we knitters. We got many blankets and we sat on the sofa.
We did.
You put on?
I put Solo on because historically, if we've had problems sleeping in the middle of the night and stuff, or if I've had problems sleeping, I should say.
Yeah.
You've put Solo on, and that sent us both off to sleep. So I put Solo on, and we did kind of have a sleep, didn't we?
We drifted in and out. So we watched Solo, and then we watched the end of Christmas at Maple Creek.
We did.
It is really a dreadful Christmas film, but let me tell you, it's a whole lot better when you're half asleep and your brain isn't operating at full level. I actually really enjoyed the end of it. It was really fun watching it.
Yeah, it was good. And it got to about 4:45, I think, and we'd just woken up, we'd sort of been sleeping. I said, I'm going to go and make a warm drink. Because we were freezing, was the other thing.
No, you're forgetting the best bit.
What happened?
Kay had the best dream
ever. Gosh, this was hilarious. Right, so bearing in mind we were asleep on the sofa, and like Dan was kind of laying like this and I was laying into him like this, trying to get as comfortable as you can. We've got quite a large sofa luckily, but still, it's still a sofa. So we did fall asleep, and I had a dream whilst I was sleeping on the sofa that I was sleeping on the sofa with Dan. Right?
Who does that?
We woke up, Dan got up and went out of the room, and then the next minute a man walked into the room, and I just looked at him and I said, how did you get in here? And he didn't say anything. I said, who are you? And he said, my name's Tom Thumb. And he was dressed in like a salesman outfit from like Comet or Curry's or something. He had a name badge on.
Now, when Kay relayed this story to me, she said, I asked him who he was. He said, my name's Tom Thumb. And Kay said, and he was quite small.
So I just went, Tom Thumb, your name's Tom Thumb. And he said, yeah. I said, why are you in my house? And he said, well, in all honesty, I've come to see if I can sell you some accessories.
So every one of you will be thinking, like me, what accessories did he come to sell?
Well, it looked like he was from Curry's or Comet,
yes,
so I think it was like cables and wires.
No. What accessories did he come to sell, Kay?
I don't know.
Because
what?
You woke up.
I woke up, yeah, I don't know what he came to sell me.
Oh.
Or how he got into my house.
The drama.
For that matter, because we've got very secure doors and obviously they were locked, so I've no idea how he got in. I mean, we didn't even tell you about the horrific winds and the damage.
Oh my goodness. Like, I'm looking straight out at fences which have not fallen down, they've been snapped on their...
Completely snapped at the base.
Bases.
It's not our fence.
Trees down everywhere.
Yeah.
Like... unbelievable.
Really, really bad. I mean, I've never known anything like it. Our house is
thousands
okay.
and thousands and thousands of people have been without power for days.
Up in
we keep getting texts.
Up in Scotland.
Don't we?
Yeah, I don't know if
Have you seen these power grid texts?
Yeah, I've been getting power grid texts apologising and saying they're working their hardest.
So we've been unbelievably lucky.
It's not us, you know. I think it's north of us.
Yeah.
I think they've had awful problems. I think
so
it's
if
been
you've
like
had
4
a nightmare,
or 5 days without
we're thinking
power.
of you, my goodness. What a show we've got in store for you today. Oh my goodness. Yes, another Kays Handmade Christmas. Thank you all so much for your excitement around that series. It's been just wonderful getting so many lovely messages, and we're so glad that it made you feel festive. Yes. And that you're looking forward to the series. And
I've seen lots of people making mincemeat and mince pies, so brilliant. I hope you enjoyed them.
We knew that first episode might be a little bit more niche in that certain parts of the world don't really do mincemeat.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, this episode, Kay's going mainstream, baby. It's about as mainstream as you could get, and this has been a taste of my Christmas since I was about 6.
Absolutely, but I have put a sort of spin on it a little bit.
A massive spin.
Yeah, and that
will potentially take us the next 30 years.
I showed 2 versions as well, one vegetarian and one meat, so... It's brilliant and delicious.
That gives away that it's a savoury thing.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. Don't worry.
It's delicious.
It is. It's really stunning.
Yummy.
Oh, I came back in I've been out doing some filming of the Baker Bears Advent Calendar, which is, of course, live now. It has begun.
Yes, it's December, everybody. I've got on a Christmas jumper. Do you like my Christmas jumper? I just bought this from Next.
Wow.
I love it.
That's amazing.
Ooh, sparkly.
For those of you who enjoy my favourite colourways, do not miss day 2 of the Baker Bears Advent Calendar, which is yesterday.
Yes.
Because there was a whole completely exclusive episode of my favourite colourways.
Yeah.
Which will only be available within the Advent Calendar.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. And go and watch it because it's marvellous. A lovely festive colourway.
Yeah.
But look, enough of this. Because when I told you it was going to be an amazing show, there's 2 jumpers from me in this show.
Oh, wow. 2 jumpers?
Yes.
No jumpers from me.
Alexander has returned.
Oh, we love him.
Because finally, I've actually got some colour work.
Oh.
Yeah, thank goodness. So I think without further ado, I should ask, Kay Jones, what's on your needles? What's that?
Oh, that's my swatch.
It's a finger warmer. Oh, no.
No, I don't do
I can't do that because it might look offensive. It does look like a finger warmer.
It does, yes, fine.
She's knitting a pair of gloves, starting with the fingers.
No.
She's then going to graft them to the body. That'd be so cool if you could do that. Can you imagine if you could do that, like socks, toe up, fingertip up, gloves?
Fingertip up. Why would you do that? That would just be like torture, wouldn't it?
Oh, tell me there's a pattern out there.
Being silly. I think he's been like sniffing tinsel, hasn't he, or something? Oh, isn't that lovely? The smell of tinsel.
Yes.
Oh, it smells so nice, doesn't it?
Yes.
Oh, we've not got our big tree up yet.
Can we have tinsel on our tree this year?
This week, you can have whatever you want on the tree this year.
You're kidding.
I have deemed it no. Seeing as I bought some decorations for Bryony this year that Dan laughed his head out off when he saw one of them. I was quite offended. I got 3 lovely...
It's a dinosaur!
It's a dinosaur. What's wrong with that? I bought 3 lovely decorations from Paper Chase because they were doing 3 for 2. One of them was a pigeon because she loves pigeons. So one was a pigeon, one was a narwhal because she loves Mr. Narwhal from Elf the film, and the other was a great big dinosaur with a Christmas scarf on, holding a candy cane because she loves Jurassic Park. And Dan was like, "What's that?" I said, "It's a dinosaur. It's a festive dinosaur."
It's a festive dinosaur.
So yes.
What about the shiny brights?
Oh my goodness, they've not arrived yet. But
Yeah. Kay will tell you about them now.
I'll tell you about them.
She wouldn't have done if she hadn't already ordered them because they disappear so fast.
Can anybody remember, and I'm sure loads of people out there will have them, can you remember the shiny bright decorations, baubles? Well, I've searched around for these over the past few years, and you can get them on eBay and things like that, vintage ones. This year, I just thought I'd Google the other day, shiny brights. Well, it turns out they're back. And I found it's a UK shop, and they had shiny bright baubles in. So I've ordered some, and I think they'll arrive actually in the next day or two. They just look fantastic. I can't wait to get them.
Very sort of kitsch.
Very kitsch. So yeah, on our tree this year we'll have shiny bright baubles, we'll have dinosaurs and pigeons. So yes, you can have tinsel.
Well, all I'll do is and this works. You know, if you want to know pro tip for putting tinsel on a tree, you know. Don't you?
I don't like the way you do it, so I'm not going to get involved.
You don't like the way I do it?
No, I wouldn't do it like you do it.
Why?
Because I wouldn't. You put it in circles like that, don't you?
Yeah, because if you just do that,
No, I would wrap it, starting at the top, I would spiral it down.
But it doesn't reach.
Well, you just join another piece in and carry on.
Oh, well, maybe we should just leave the tinsel off the tree.
No, well, you want tinsel now.
Well, I don't know now. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Right. But the way it's always worked brilliantly for me is because otherwise I just find tinsel can be a bit overpowering. It can just take over the whole tree. And that's why I've always done...
Maybe what we need is some different tinsel, because the tinsel we've got is really thick and bushy.
Circle at the bottom.
The tinsel we've got is super thick and bushy. It's like that. Maybe we need that thin tinsel.
Oh, no.
But no, then it would look good, I think, if we had the thinner tinsel.
Let's just not put tinsel on the tree.
The great tinsel debate of 2021.
I've just ended it. Because secretly you don't want tinsel on the tree anyway.
I don't mind tinsel. I think you should, if you want tinsel, have tinsel on the tree. I like that word.
Tinsel on the tree.
Tinsel on the tree. That would be a fantastic.
We've just started watching a new Christmas film.
Wouldn't it?
We've just started watching a new Christmas film where the people live in Tinsel, California.
Yes.
And
please tell me that if you live in California, is there a town called Tinsel? I doubt it.
And I don't like the way you were talking about the leading man, saying how handsome he was.
The leading man is this, like, Superman.
We also think he's crazy because he's got glasses on, but there's no glass in them.
There's no glass in
He's just wearing frames.
Anyway.
What's on your needles?
Right.
Oh, look, it's a finger warmer.
No, that's my swatch. I'll show you that in a minute. So, it's a pair of socks, and this is actually a new design that I'm hoping to have out before Christmas Eve, because I know loads of people like to cast on socks on Christmas Eve.
Suddenly feel the pressure on now.
And no, because it's just about going into testing.
Right.
As you're watching this, it should be just going into testing. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, I'll be able to get this out.
I love these.
By the next show. I designed these socks probably a couple of months ago when I was just having a bit of a time sort of mentally struggling with world news and all of that business. I was just kind of struggling, and I took a step back and stopped watching the news.
Yeah.
And
pro tip, folks, don't watch the news.
No.
Please continue.
Yeah, so I stopped watching the news, and I didn't go on YouTube either, and it's when I started watching the Gilmore Girls. It's that time that I started designing these socks, because I just wanted to do something that was kind of, at the time, I was just doing it for me. I was just doing it for fun.
Haven't you found a solution for the YouTube thing by not using the app? You just go onto the website and you just search for what you want, and then it doesn't give you a mass of horrible suggestions.
What I tend to do now when I want to watch someone on YouTube, because there are... there's some knitting podcasts and crafty podcasts that I do like to watch still.
I'm guessing there's quite a few people out there who feel the same. I
will just Google the actual podcast, and then it does take you to YouTube. I don't tend to get that bombardment of stuff when you open up YouTube on the app. Do you know how you will get all of the suggestions?
Would you like to watch this?
Yeah, and it was all of the suggestions I was getting. You know, you might have watched something 3 years ago randomly, and then you'll keep getting similar suggestions for it, won't you? And so that's how I've found that it's working for me at the minute. I am still watching all of my favourite things, but I'm not kind of being exposed to it as much, I suppose. So yeah, these socks are just designed for fun. And I just had an idea, and I just thought, right, I'm just going to try that, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't, and that's fine. But I think it did work out, and I really like them, and it's progressed now to being a design. So before I actually cast on the pair that I'll show you in a second, I did a little swatch, because I had an idea that I wanted... Well, actually, no, I need to go further back. I need to show you this one, which I actually started this sock first, because I discovered this stitch pattern that I then modified, and I really liked it. So that I'm going to do a whole pair of socks in this stitch pattern. And I started them, and it's this. You can see I didn't carry on. Isn't it pretty? It's a really, really pretty but easy lace pattern. I was knitting away on them, but then I just suddenly thought, although this is really pretty and really beautiful, doing it all over on a sock, I just thought it might be a bit much in terms of people's enjoyment, because I know a lot of people like socks that are relaxing and simple and not really too involved, and especially this time of year. So I thought I really love the lace stitch pattern, but maybe not all over a sock. But you could, if you wanted to, you know, because it is within this pattern I'm going to show you, you could do it all over a sock if you wanted to, and I think it's beautiful. And I might do at some point, do it all over a sock. So that was the first thing, and then I thought, right, now I'm going to take that lace pattern and I'm going to incorporate it into a sock, but I'm going to add in some stripes. I've always wanted to do some stripes in a sock. So then I did a little swatch. When I'm doing swatches for sock designs, I tend to just cast on 32 stitches, because it's half the stitches of a full-size sock. So that works for stitch counts and everything. So I just cast this on just to practice striping, just one row stripes, and just the method that I was using, just sort of getting that, you know, the tension right on the method that I was using. And then I thought, right, okay, so I'll just try now putting in that lace pattern. So I started it, I just did sort of half a repeat or something. And I thought, yeah, that's going to work. I knew it was going to work. So then I chose some yarns and cast on the actual pair. Now I finished one whole sock and I'm halfway through the other. So I'll show you the finished one. So here is the finished sock. So what I decided to do in the end was I started with some stripes up here, you can see. And then I went into that lovely lace pattern, and then back to the stripes, and then the rest of the sock is just plain. And I put in my butterfly heel. Yay! So these are fingering weight. Since I did this heel in my cozy reading socks, which was a patron pattern, and then the floofy house socks, which is available for anyone to buy. Since I put it in there, I've had so many messages with people saying, are you going to do this for a fingering weight sock? So the answer is yes, and I've done it. So I'll show you the heel again. So here's the butterfly heel. So this looks like a short row heel, but it isn't created using short rows. It's increases and decreases, and I just find it's really pleasant to do, because I'm just not keen on working short rows in a heel. And then it's got my umbrella toe. So these socks are called the Lattice Topped Socks. And actually, Dan named these socks.
Wow.
You did. I was talking about them, and I was showing you, and I said, what do you think I should call these socks? And Dan said it reminded him of like an apple pie. Do you know when they have that lattice top, and then you get the apple mixture peeking through, and then you've got the pastry? And I thought, oh, it's brilliant.
What it reminded me of immediately, as soon as I looked at it, was the Mr. Kipling's apple pie, large apple pie advert from probably the late 1980s, when it used to be there on this lovely plate, and it looked exactly like that.
Yeah.
There's something rather lovely about that sort of crispy, appley, caramelised.
Well, what I'm going to do when I take photos for these socks is I'm going to make an apple pie with a lattice top.
Cool. Oh my goodness.
I know. What? With spelt flour, yeah. I've got to. It's got to be done, hasn't it? It's got to be done.
Okay.
And then it'll be delicious and we can eat it.
Yes.
So it serves two purposes. So my idea with these socks and why I wanted to specifically get them released in time for Christmas is that I think it's just got that perfect combination of, you start off a sock and you've got all this interest. And that's kind of, in December, that's sort of the least busy time, I always think, the beginning of December. But then it might be as you move through December, you might not have that brain space, or you just want something a bit simpler. So, you've gone past all of the more involved work and you've now just got a lovely plain sock to work on with this great heel. So that was my sort of thought process with it. And it's really fun. It's honestly really fun. I had such fun knitting this sock. And then I've got the other one here. And the reason this one is at this point is because I need to record a tutorial for the heel. And I had to wait for Dan to have the capacity because of all the advent calendar work. But we're sort of clear now, so I'm going to be doing that very soon, and then I'll finish off this sock. So here's my second one. And my stripes are quite subtle, but I actually like that because it gives more of a feel, I find, of what I wanted with the apple peeking through the pastry. But you obviously can use whatever combination of colours you want. You can have a very contrasty contrast, and those stripes would really stand out. But it is really, really fun, and I've recorded a tutorial for how I alternate the yarns with the stripes, because I know there's various ways that people do that. It's only one row stripes, but there's a video in there showing you how I do it. And then there'll also be a video showing you how to work the heel. There is full written instructions, but there'll also be a video. Now the yarns that I'm using are from Eden Cottage, so it's on the Brimham 4-ply, and the green is fern, and then the neutral colour is stone. And I had these in my stash, so it was perfect. It's these two shades. It's a lovely green. It's a very citrusy, acidy green, but also quite a festive green. I think it looks modern. I feel like this is what this design looks. I do feel it looks quite modern with the combination of stripes and lace, and then this heel, and the yarn's working up brilliantly well. But you could, if you wanted to, you could have a solid yarn as your main colour for the lace and for this portion, and you could have something a bit more speckledy or variegated for the contrast. I think that would work quite well. So these are the Lattice Topped Socks, and hopefully I will have the pattern ready for the next show.
Cool.
One thing I've done slightly different with this pattern, normally my standard way of writing patterns is for magic loop. However, with this one, what I've done is I've actually written it in a way that can be read for magic loop or double points. So it doesn't matter which of those two methods you're using, because I think they are still probably the most two popular methods of knitting socks. So the pattern can just be read for either of those two methods. So I was really pleased to be able to do that. I was really happy that it's more of a universal pattern. So I'm going to get this video recorded. I'm going to finish off this sock at the same time that it's being tested. And then hopefully, fingers crossed, with a good wind. Oh, I shouldn't say that about wind, should I? It'll be out for the next show. Dan Jones, what's on your needles?
Well, here's the body of the Alexander. I haven't shown this to you because it's just a great big mound of round and round.
Yeah, but it's still
lovely.
knitting, and you've done loads.
Well, yeah, it is still knitting, but there's not really a lot to say, is there, about just knitting 192 stitches in the round over and over again.
I know what you mean.
For 17.5 inches.
Gosh, it's a lot of knitting.
17 and a tiny bit of inches. That's the sort of perfect body length for me. But you can see there from the colour, it's really interesting, and that's what.
Yeah, you can see the greeny tones in that. I can definitely.
I couldn't have knitted this in like a plain, straight one colour. No matter how pretty that colour was, it would have absolutely done my head in.
A flat colour, you mean?
Yes.
Don't you? Yeah.
Whereas this, there's a lot of interest going on. And it's perfect at this time of year because the yarn is so warm. So it keeps your hands warm as you knit, and it also keeps your legs warm as it sits on your body. So it's sort of perfect. So the body is finished, and now I finally started a sleeve. And I've already done it wrong, but thankfully...
No, you haven't.
Oh, no, not now.
Oh, before.
Yeah,
yes. I thought you meant you'd done it wrong again.
Your voice went all funny then. Before.
I need a drink of my super powerful ginger.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
Yes. Double the ginge, twice the singe. That's what it says on the bottle.
Oh, my gosh.
I shall say nothing more. It's Moju, ginger shots. This is the sleeve. Woohoo, look at that.
It's
now,
lovely.
That's fun.
It looks cool.
So it's just 2x2 ribbing. I've done about 5 and a bit inches. No.
Inches? It's not inches.
Centimetres.
Oh, I don't do centimetres. It's about 2.5 inches, I think.
And then into this lovely colour work. And what I did wrong was, because I got too excited and I just wanted to knit the chart, I forgot, I just didn't read the bit which said you've got to increase evenly. So I increased evenly. I tinked back the round of colour work which I'd done. And then I increased evenly. And there we are. We're now into this lovely chart. And the cool thing about this chart is you can do it on both sleeves if you wish, but I'm not going to do it on both sleeves because in the book, and I have the book here, I can show you the man.
It's so cool. This man's
paper.
So cool.
Look at that.
Look at him.
Do you see? Look at his sleeve.
He's just got one cuff.
It's just a sleeve, plain, and then one sleeve with colour work on. And that, to me, is refined.
I want to know that man. He looks like the coolest.
He looks like an absolute legend. Yeah. But there is another picture in the magazine.
There we go.
In the magazine. Now, this is, just so you know, it's this. So it's
number
the
40.
Lopi number 40. That's what the pattern comes out of. And there's another picture, and they've got it on both sleeves.
Yeah.
So the pattern does tell you to only do it on one, but you can see it there on 2 as well. And you could just do it on 2, but I'm not going to do that because I really want to have a jumper.
So which arm is it going to be?
My right arm.
I suppose it should be right arm, shouldn't it? If you're right-handed.
Maybe I should draw to the left.
Draw to the left?
Yeah,
what does that mean?
Draw people's eyes to the left.
Why?
Catch them off guard. I don't know what I'm saying.
I
don't know.
It'd be your right hand, wouldn't it, I guess? Your dominant. Would it? I don't know. Because you use that one more so people would see it more. Not that you go around waving your arm around, I suppose. So just look at my cuff, everyone.
Do you know what? What I'm going to do is I shall knit the sleeves.
Yeah.
Because there isn't a right and a left sleeve, thankfully.
No, they're both the same, darling. Why would they be different? Why would they be different?
I wish they were.
That's hilarious.
So,
your arms like different shapes or something?
Yes. No. So what I'll do is I'll knit both the sleeves and then I'll pull them on and I'll try them both sides.
Oh, yes. And see which one feels right.
Yes, definitely. And I'll get an opinion from the lady of the house.
You see, I say right, but then as if you're wearing a watch, you would wear that on your left arm if you were right-handed, wouldn't you?
Not if you're me.
No, that's right. Neither one of us wears a watch anymore. You haven't worn a watch for donkey's years.
That is the case with a lot of people now. Thanks it's thanks to
people
smartphones.
wear Apple Watches, don't they?
Some people do, but again, I know a lot of people who have Apple Watches who have got to the point of
not wearing it.
Yeah, because. They're like, what's the point? I know for some people it's like, oh, great, I'll do that. But
yeah,
I know one person in particular who got an Apple Watch, and she very quickly she wore it for a bit because of the gimmick, and then very quickly it was like, well, I'm going to need to get my phone out probably anyway to reply to. So
and then you can see the time,
it's right there,
can't you? I haven't worn a watch for quite a few years. I just found that I was clock watching all the time, just constantly clock watching.
Yeah.
And I don't need to do that. So
that's what the man wants you to do.
I just stopped.
The man wants you to look at the time.
I just stopped wearing one.
So the yarn is, of course, the gorgeous Lopi in rough sea and lovely grey. This is.
No, it's something like light heather grey or something.
Light heather grey.
I forget the name of that one.
Equally, they're both gorgeous yarns. I have, though, come to the conclusion that my next jumper won't be with Lopi.
No.
And that's because I've discovered, and I'm not going to go into detail, because the detail will be fleshed out in this year's Bakery Bears Advent Calendar. Mm-hmm. I've discovered the right way and the wrong way to wear Lopi. And so I need colour work yoked jumpers for all situations.
Yes. Because they are really cold weather jumpers, aren't they?
Yes. I would like to have a lovely colourwork jumper. Another thing I think I'm going to want to get into is some shaping.
Right.
I'm going to want to get into some neck shaping because the Ridari could do with a bit of neck shaping. It does seem to ride quite high, that front bit.
Yeah, it's because there's no back shaping.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. It cuts you at the neck.
There is some interesting... It's not that it cuts at the neck, it just...
I think what does happen, though, as you wear a jumper is it does mould to your shape.
Yeah, so over time,
maybe things I think you will
improve.
find that it will...
So we'll see.
Sort of like stretch out and mould to your back shape.
Next jumper will definitely be in. But for anyone who watched the self-contained knitter which came out on Tuesday will know that I've had a cunning plan that is...
My lord.
Becoming more and more fleshed out in my mind, and that is I just feel the need to knit a Star Trek sweater.
Oh, really? Is there such a thing?
Well, it's based on your socks.
Oh, right. Okay.
So exactly the same as your socks, but in sweater form. So you would need to dye up the yarn.
Oh, no! I didn't write down the colours.
Well,
you've no
I'm sure you can knock it out again. Imagine if I knit Bryony a jumper in lovely yarn.
She would love it.
She'd love it. When I get to the point of feeling ready to do it, we'll see if she still likes Star Trek.
I was going to say she might have gone off by then.
If she does. Because I just think it would be so cool. And I have this feeling that doing it in those sections and changing the colours, even though it's plain knitting, I just have this feeling that perhaps...
It might keep you engaged.
It might keep me engaged.
Yeah.
But as it's for a girl, I could potentially plug in like a simple... lace pattern in the thick sections.
You could. Yeah,
See, this is forming in my mind.
You're designing your own jumper there, honey, aren't you?
Sort of. Well, I've completely stolen.
Don't start asking me to design
I'm not
jumpers.
I'm not going to, but I've stolen. All I've done is steal your design and fiddle with it.
I'm going to be showing you those socks shortly.
What else is on your needles?
Well, I'm working on a hat.
You're not.
I am.
Lovely.
I wanted a project for bedtime knitting what was I working on before this for bedtime knitting? I think it was only a pair of socks.
You kept messing it up.
Yeah, I did. It was your brown socks, which were just plain socks. But I find that at bedtime I'm so tired. I don't know, I can't even knit socks, when it gets to like the heel flap and things like that. I thought, right, what could I work on at bedtime that would just be fine for if I'm literally falling asleep? And I decided to cast on a hat. I was like, right, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to my stash, I'm going to find some yarn that's lovely, fingering weight, and I'm going to cast on a hat. So that's what I've done. And it's living. I've pulled out one of my favourite Christmas bags. I made a batch of these bags when I was making bags to sell, which is probably 3-4 years ago now. But this fabric I absolutely love. And in fact, I've got our Christmas tablecloth, which is an oilcloth, is in this. I amazingly found the oilcloth last year in Dunelm, I think it was. And it's this exact pattern. So I've got a bag that matches my table. So in here, it's actually a festive project of sorts, because I went through my stash and I found a partial skein of yarn that I'd dyed, but it's one of my favourite colourways, and I weighed it and I thought, I don't know if I'll have enough there for a hat, but I weighed it and I'd got like 75 grams. I was like, there's plenty for a fingering weight hat, because I normally use between sort of 50, 55, 60 grams at the very most, depending on how much slouch there is for a hat. So I knew that there'd be enough. And I'm using my Figgy Pudding colourway. Now this is a colourway that I've never shown this on my favourite colourways, because it takes such a long time to dye. There's a lot of colours in here, and it's a layering process, so it just takes an awful long time. It's very intense, and that's why I've never shown it. So it's this lovely colourway. It's sort of predominantly, I suppose, purple shades, but there's all kinds of pops of colour in there. And I'm just knitting a plain hat. Now I do have a pattern, there's a free pattern, it's called Autumn Snow. It's a plain fingering weight hat, it's just got some stripes at the bottom. But if you're looking for just a plain hat pattern, that one's there and that's free. You can go and download that. And I'm basically following that pattern, but I'm not putting in the stripes. So here's my lovely hat. It's got, this colour has got there's lots of sort of golden shades in there. There's some pops of pink, bright pink. There's some darker purples, there's lighter purples. Gosh, and there's some blues in there as well. There's all kinds of colours in there. And it's just a lovely plain hat for when I'm out walking. And it's been perfect for bedtime. You know, I'm fine doing the rib. I find. At bedtime, I'm not too tired to do knit to purl to. So I did it, maybe it's 1 3/4 inches, something like that. I just knit the rib until I thought it was long enough for me, and then now I'm just working plain knitting until it's long enough. I tend to knit to about 9 inches and then do the crown decreases. My crown decreases are fairly rapid because I don't like to get that oval sort of elf-like look. I prefer that more slightly scrunched up decreases, do you know what I mean? So it's a fairly shallow amount of decreases. So I tend to knit to about 9 inches, and that just gives me a little bit of slouch. I don't like super slouchy hats, but I do like a little bit. I don't like a really fitted beanie because I do like to pull a hat down over my ears. I can't see the point in a hat if you don't cover your ears, because my ears are the things that get freezing.
Yes, we've all had that frosty feeling on the tips of our ears. My goodness, I know exactly what you mean. It's funny though, I do find that sometimes a heavier weight yarn, my ears get colder.
Then a thinner one.
My head's warmer, but the thinner weight, I think that's why I find myself...
You wear those fingering weight ones
I go to the fingering weight ones because I find that there's more of a barrier to the icy feeling than there, like the stovetop Declan's hat.
Yeah.
If I wear that on a really cold day, my ears get cold.
What's stovetop?
That's the colourway.
Is it?
Or stovepipe.
That's the Madeline Tosh, I believe.
Tosh, yeah.
Right. God, how did you remember that? You don't remember anything. Wow. Madeline Tosh, gosh, I don't see Madeline Tosh being knit that much these days.
It was just too... I don't know if it just lets through too much air. So actually, this hat...
I do find myself wearing fingering weight hats more than any other, even when, like Dan said, even when it's quite cold.
Your cold weather warm hat, though, it's
brilliant.
Epic.
And
it's the one with the ropes up there.
Yeah, I knit a hat a couple of years ago from...
I love it.
I think it's Malabrigo Mecca. Right. It's like a super chunky single-ply yarn. And I put in a pattern, and I wore it the other day when it was super cold. Dan went for a walk with me in the morning because it was icy.
It looks so cool.
And it's fantastic. It's one of my favourite hats. And I said to you when I was out walking, I must write up this pattern.
It's the type of hat.
I have got it written down somewhere.
You would see it like I could just imagine you on the ski slopes in
It's really thick, and there's a pom pom on the top, and it's like all blue sort of colours. But
it's the design just seems to work. The ropes on there.
Yeah, what I must do is knit up another one in a lighter colour. I think that will show the pattern a bit more, and I must write that up because it's a great hat. But yeah, plain fingering weight hat. Really enjoying it for bedtime. It's just perfect for me, and I'm sure I'll be able to still manage the decreases even when I'm tired, but if I don't feel I can, I then can sort of put it into normal rotation with normal knitting and have something else for bedtime knitting. But they're great, quick little knits, fingering weight hats. You know, you can use leftovers. I'm sure you could get one out of 50 grams. I use a 3mm needle, which I really love. I love 3mm needles with fingering weight for hats. It seems to be the perfect combination for me. So I do want to get this finished up really quite quickly, and I want to finish off something else that I'm going to show you next, because it is December now, but I was trying to sort of clear my needles for December so that I can just do fun Christmassy Advent things. So if I can get this and the other thing finished quite quickly, I'll still be able to do that.
Look at my jumper.
Another jumper.
Look at the size of this.
No, you hold it down a bit. You can't see the...
Yeah, I was just letting people take in the marvellousness of the body.
Admire the glory.
Look at the sleeves. And then down we come. Look at this.
That's lovely.
Now, I was initially... feeling a little bit...
You were down here last time, I think.
Yeah, I was a bit sceptical. I was worried that the white was a bit too white.
No, I think it's great.
But actually, it's growing on me. The more I sort of knit with it, the more I look at it. It definitely fits that full-on winter, snow-topped mountain type sort of feel. And it's still the Let Lope. It's obviously different colourways to the Alexander. The black is like, well, it's called Galaxy, and it looks like you're looking through a telescope at like deep space. It's marvellous.
What's this pattern called?
This is the anniversary.
Right.
Now, the pattern, it's linked in the show notes below. People have tried to help me with the pronunciation of the pattern, but it's just tricky because there's all sorts of interesting things going on. So the translation is anniversary.
Yes.
And I'm English, so I'll say the English word because that's what it is. But the pattern is linked below.
Is it Norwegian, I think, or Swedish? I forget which.
I don't think it's Swedish.
Norwegian.
I think it's Icelandic.
Oh, Icelandic. Sorry, is it Icelandic? Of course it is.
Yes.
Right, of course it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Scandinavian sort of languages, I think, are very tricky for English-speaking
I've
people.
always been fascinated with Iceland.
Oh, me too. I'd love to go to Iceland. Oh, I'd love to go to Iceland.
Why don't we go one further? Why don't we go live there?
I know. It's actually, I don't reckon it would be that long on a plane to Iceland.
But you just pop to Scotland, hop on a boat, you're there.
Yeah, it's just above Scotland. I say just above. It's quite a way above.
It's probably quite a...
But it's up there, isn't it?
I bet it's a choppy sea crossing.
Oh, I wouldn't go on a boat. You'd have to fly, wouldn't you?
But how will we get all our stuff there?
What stuff?
Oh, all our furniture.
Oh, we're actually moving, are we? That wasn't just talk.
Oh, I'd do that.
Well, I'd have to visit it first. I'm not sure I could just move to
people. I could wear these all year.
I know.
We could have a ranch.
Does anybody out there live in Iceland? What's the climate like? Is it...
Perfect is, I think, what you'll find.
Is it just combinations of cold all year? Or I bet you do get some warm
Yeah, but I bet you it's not as warm.
Well, no, it won't
here.
be. It's in the Arctic Circle, isn't it?
Yeah, keep telling me things like that and I'll be there all the quicker.
I know, I'd love to go to Iceland. The fire and ice business really just is like sounds so fabulous, doesn't it? That combination of volcanoes and ice and it sounds mysterious and fabulous.
It does. It does.
Sort of place Bryony would write about. Oh my goodness.
Oh yes, she's just started a mocks and Kay's more nervous than Bryony is.
She'll be doing a mock RE right now as we're speaking.
Yes.
I am more nervous than I think she is, bless her. But she was doing some revision yesterday and she was doing a creative writing revision, and what they have to do in their mock of English language, I think it is
same thing when I did it.
Yeah, they're given like an inspiration picture or something, some inspirational thing, and they have to do a piece of creative writing based on that image.
Yes. You have to bring life to the...
Yeah, so I chose an image for her yesterday.
It's a brilliant image.
She just had an idea like that. Away she went. 35 minutes later, she passed me these 4 pages of beautiful writing full of the most amazing story. And I was
It was really good. It was really, really, really good.
I didn't know what to say to her when...
She has aspirations to potentially be a writer, and so that's marvellous.
You came downstairs after you'd read it and had to give me a hug. I said, "Did you read it?" And Dan went, "Yeah, I read it." I was like, "Oh my God."
It was really brilliant.
It was
really well structured and everything. Great characters.
She loves reading kind of dystopian things and things that are a little bit scary and things like that. And it was very...
She's got quite a broad...
She has got, because she's just finished Dracula, which she loved, and she's asked for Pride and Prejudice for Christmas. She is more into the classics now. She does want to read classics, but then she also likes really modern things, and then she likes
that she's interested in the classics.
Spooky things, and I'm thrilled that she wants to read classics.
There's nothing better, in my opinion, if you want to really get your brain working. Reading classics is
I couldn't believe she got all the way through Dracula. She read it every single morning in bed, and she got through the whole thing and she read it. And now she wants to read a Jane Austen. And she said to me the other day, "Oh, I don't know whether to ask for Christmas, whether to ask for Pride and Prejudice or Sense and Sensibility." I said, "Well, they're both brilliant, honey, so you decide." She's asked for Pride and Prejudice.
And she had this conversation with you as you were sat in the window seat eating your porridge, reading A Christmas Carol.
I couldn't be more thrilled with how much she loves to read, and just reading what she'd written yesterday, I was completely bowled over, and I just had to remain sensible because I thought, I can't burst into tears, she'll think I'm weird. So I told her how good I thought it was, and then you spoke to her about the length of it and to make sure she got enough time when she's in her exam to do something like that. And brilliant.
Yeah, I think
all
one of the things that is so hard when you've been a teacher, it's really difficult to turn off
the teachery. Yeah,
and I have.
You are a lot better than you used to be. You used to be quite scary when you switch into that sort of teacher mode, and you're like, oh, it's Teacher Dan, not Daddy Dan, Whereas I'm just a mum, and I'm just like, emotional over everything that your child does. Really,
if she does that in the exam, she'll do great.
The characters were interesting. The story was brilliant. It was all put together great. Anyway,
look.
Let's get back to the knitting.
Speaking of Star Trek jumpers,
yes.
Show me the inspiration.
For your jumper that you're going to create.
Yes.
Well, it's Bryony's Star Trek socks, and I'm not quite finished with the pair, but I'm getting there. And so I finished one sock, so I'll show you that. It hasn't been blocked yet, but it's finished and all the ends are woven in. Look at that, look how sparkly it is.
It's amazing.
Can you see all the sparkles?
Imagine a full jumper in that.
Wouldn't that be cool as a jumper?
Okay, I think I've got to do this.
I think it would be super cool as a jumper, wouldn't it? Look, there were a lot of ends. Look, I'm not going to deny there was a lot of ends. But it took me about, half an hour maybe, weaving them in. I just thought, well, I'm just going to sit and I'm going to weave these ends in, and it's fine, isn't it? There's worse things in life than having to weave ends in.
And there is, when you look at something like that and you look at how lovely that is.
It's so cool.
And Kay, actually, you filmed a series, and it was called Kay's Ultimate Sock Series, and it's where you showed how to make a scrappy pair of socks.
Yes.
So on there was tons of ends to weave in.
Yeah.
And this pair of socks, that pair of socks, you look at it and you're like, oh my goodness, it looks so gorgeous.
Yeah.
And it's a sort of tangible example of, in life, you get out what you put in.
Yeah.
And you've had to put in a load of work weaving in those ends.
Yeah.
But look at the outcome.
I didn't mind. I would,
It's worth it when you look at this.
Yeah, and it's just because there was so many, but I just so think it's worth it.
It's stupendous.
I've got these larger uniform colours are 10 rows, and then the smaller, thinner black, which is really dark grey, are 4 rows. So it's a lot. There is a lot of ends. But
so it's a lot. There's quite a lot.
But, so what if there's a lot of ends? Like Dan said, I'm more of a product knitter. I knit things because I really want that thing, and I enjoy the process, but it's the thing that I'm knitting it for. So
it's interesting what you just said there, though, isn't it? Because whilst you're a product knitter, what you've just gone through is an extremely long and complex process.
I know, but what I'm saying is I will happily go through that process
to get the product. So it's like a mixture of both.
I suppose it is a mixture of both, because there's some processes in things that I've knit that I've really loved the process of knitting. And I've also loved the finished thing. But generally, I will knit something because I want that finished thing. And this is an example of that, because she's going to love these. And look, the second one, I'm on the foot. I'm working the gusset decreases. So I'm doing pretty well, aren't I? I'm not far. Look how amazing they're going to be of the pair. She has seen these, but not recently, and I'm not really drawing attention to it now. Now, I'm wondering if I'll have enough of that grey. I have got another skein, so it's not a problem. I've only got this much left of the first mini. I've got another mini, so it's not a problem. But I've only got this much left, but I kind of think I might have enough for the toe there. I'm thinking there might be about 3 grams. I think that might be enough, because I can't remember actually ever doing cuffs, heels and toes in a sock. Normally I will do heels and toes. Don't normally do all 3. So this is a good test of a 20 gram mini. This is a 64 stitch sock. And I would expect that you can get cuffs, heels and toes from a 20 gram mini on this size. Don't think you would with 72 stitches. I'd always recommend you have more than 20 grams. But I think I might just squeeze out the toe out of that. I'm going to give it a try anyway. I can always add in the other yarn. So yeah, I dyed all these colours myself. We've got the Riker manoeuvre. We've got Ode to Spot. I remembered it after last time. This is Ode to Spot, which is a poem that Data wrote about his cat, Spot. And then this one, I still can't remember this. It's something to do with Beverly Crusher with the blue. And this is also Picard's colour, isn't it? The red. Like I said, I'm going to power through these. I will show you them next time. They will be finished because these are going to be a Christmas gift for Bryony. And I think she'll love them.
We made a discovery, didn't we, with sock toes and my foot.
Oh, gosh.
And it's an interesting point to sort of consider when you're sock knitting, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it is and it isn't. I think your toes, your feet are...
Well, the problem is, because I've always had really big feet, that has led me to be, especially when I was younger, to be in shoes that weren't quite right.
Didn't quite fit you.
Yeah.
So it
was a disaster.
It kind of changed the shape of his foot, his toes. It really did. And in fact, one foot is different to the other as well.
But what we established was that the toe...
I think the toe on Dan's socks actually needs to begin way earlier than a standard toe. Because his feet are so big, his toes are enormous. You know, you normally say, don't you, in a sock pattern that to start your toe decreases when you're about 2 inches from the finished length of foot that you want.
I wonder what other people do because there'll be loads of people out there who knit socks for husbands and sons.
Yeah.
And do you take into account the size of the actual toe area? Or do you do what...
Like I say again, I think for probably most people out there, I think that system works.
Yes. So are you saying the system doesn't work for my feet?
I don't think it's right for your feet.
So what should you do for my feet?
I don't know. I might just have to redesign you an entire toe because I think because really when you start at the toe decreases, I find you should be about the point of the base of like your big toe, for example. But if I did that with Dan, I'd be starting the toe probably at 3 inches before, not 2 inches before. But then that would mean redesigning the whole toe shaping so that it's a much more gradual decrease. And I think that would work better for you. And I might sort of tinker around with that.
Yeah.
I mean, you get the socks on and you wear them, obviously, but the toe... The toe ends up being like this little bit like this at the top of his foot and doesn't actually cover most of his toes underneath.
You wonder if there's any toes out there that have been designed.
Well, you can actually have a toe that is more, because you can have a left and a right foot, can't you, with socks, with toes. So you can do, like, for example, more decreases on this side than this side.
Yeah.
And then that will... fit.
Bring it to
it's more of it's like doing a left and a right hand, I suppose. Yeah. A similar sort of thing.
That would be a real pain when you're putting your socks on, wouldn't it?
You'd have to get the right one, yeah.
What you'd have to do is you'd have to colour work on each of the socks, an L and an R.
I'm not doing any of that business. So I'm going to carry on with these socks, and I think I will have a little bit of the colours left. Like the red, for example, I've got this much left, which is probably around... I reckon that's maybe 8-9 grams, something like that, and I've got one more stripe to do with that. I think I might have about 5 or 6 grams of each of the uniform colour left, and then I will hopefully have a whole light grey, and I definitely will have a whole dark grey. So I think I can somehow make us some mitts as well, some fingerless mitts, using these as the main, and maybe just doing little stripes of the uniform colour somewhere on the mitts.
Cool.
So I will do that for her as well at some point. So I'm going to get on with these. I'm using 2.5mm Addy Calibris, which I'm still loving these needles. They're really fun, really light, nice points. You know, the colours are fun. They've got a nice amount of grip, I suppose is the wrong word. They're not too slippy. So I really love them.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we've already established, December is here. And as we mentioned earlier in the show, that means the Bakery Bears Advent Calendar has begun.
It's begun,
but
everyone.
That is not the only place to find Christmas treats this year. It's like finding presents under your tree every morning for 24 days, the Bakery Bears Advent Calendar. But as I've said, it's not the only place to find Christmas treats, because I'm delighted now to introduce the second wonderful episode of Kays Handmade Christmas.
Christmas is about traditions, from the decorations we have to see on our tree to the wonderful things that adorn our festive table. These are the things I look forward to the most at this time of year. Those special flavours that only seem to appear at Christmas time. In this special series, I'm going to show you how to make some of my favourite festive recipes. Together, we'll create the flavours that make our Christmas truly special. Welcome back everyone to another episode of Kays Handmade Christmas. Now, this time we are cooking again. Would it be cooking or baking this? I'm not sure. Would it be classed as baking? Not sure. But anyway, we are creating another thing to eat, and it's another of our Christmas staples. We always have these at Christmas. Absolutely love them. Wouldn't be Christmas without them. However, this time I'm adding a couple of spins to it, if you like. I'm changing one of the ingredients. And I'm also doing a vegetarian version of this thing. So I'm going to be doing two versions of kind of the same thing. And what I'm going to be doing today is making some sausage rolls. Now, so I'll be making sausage rolls, and I'll be making a cheese and onion and sage version as well. So it's kind of like I don't like to say a vegetarian sausage roll because there's no sausage in it, but it's a delicious, in fact, I actually prefer the vegetarian version, I've got to say. It's really yummy. Both of them are equally as delicious. So I'm going to be making both today, which is really exciting. This, like I said, sausage rolls are something that we always have at Christmas, and this particular recipe is a Delia Smith recipe. Both of them are actually, and both recipes you can find in her Christmas book, but they're also online as well, very readily available for you to make. They're absolutely the best sausage rolls we've certainly ever had. They're not, the ones you buy in the shop are fine, but they're not a patch on these. It's really worth the effort. Don't worry about the pastry, because although it is a flaky pastry, it's not a difficult one. We're not going to do any of that Great British Bake Off laminating puff pastry business. None of that. No laminating will be going on today. Just a really easy, quick, flaky pastry that's delicious. So that's what we're going to be making today. It's time to have a look at what we're going to need. Okay, so here we are with all of our ingredients. Now I say all of our ingredients, but I'll say first of all, so I don't forget, I don't want another Demerara sugar incident like last time. But there's one ingredient that's actually in the freezer, and that's the butter. It's just a block of butter. I think our packs of butter here in this country are 250 grams. I don't need all of that, but I've just put all of the block of butter into the freezer. You need to freeze your butter for about 45 minutes before you make the pastry. So the butter is in the freezer, everything else is here. So first of all, for the pastry, again, I am using the white spelt flour. I've discovered, from the mince pies from last time and now from making the sausage rolls, that spelt flour is brilliant for pastry. It works absolutely perfectly in this recipe. We've eaten these sausage rolls and not had a problem at all. I will say again, obviously the spelt flour, it's not gluten-free. So if you're not able to eat gluten, then, you've still got to steer away from the spelt flour. But the gluten that is in it is a different type of gluten, and it breaks down much more easily in your tummy, so it's just much more digestible. We certainly find that, but it does have gluten in. So I'll be using the spelt flour, and then the other thing we'll use for the pastry is the butter that I've mentioned is in the freezer, and then just some seasoning, just a little bit of salt for your pastry as well. And then we've got all of the ingredients here for both types of sausage rolls. So first of all, I'll say about the actual sausage rolls. So we're going to need some pork sausage meat. However you get this is fine. We can buy it at this time of year in these sort of little sausage-shaped rolls. Or you can actually use sausages and just take them out of the skins if you prefer. If you've got a particular sausage that's your favourite, you can just slit the skins, get the sausage meat out of there, and that's fine. But you're going to need some sausage meat. And then onion. I've got here one large onion that I've chopped finely in like a food processor, but I'll be using half of the onion for each sort of different roll, the vegetarian and the sausage roll. So one large onion, and then some sage. So I use sage in both recipes. I actually like dried sage for this. Now, depending on the herb, using a dried herb can sometimes be brilliant, and some herbs I find just are not very nice dried. But sage is one of those herbs that is really good dried, and I actually prefer the dried sage to fresh sage. You can use fresh sage if you prefer. You would just need more of it because when it's dried, it concentrates everything. But I'm going to be using dried sage because it's easy, you can keep it in your store cupboard, and it tastes great. I think that's everything we'll need for the pork version. Yep. And then for the vegetarian version, what I've got here is some fresh breadcrumbs. I've actually used a spelt loaf that I've made for these breadcrumbs. So I made this loaf yesterday and I've breadcrumbed it. I don't know what you call it when you make breadcrumbs. I've created breadcrumbs from that loaf, just again in the food processor. And I'm going to be using fresh spelt breadcrumbs, but if you don't want to use spelt, or you can't get it, then you just want some nice fresh breadcrumbs. The spelt flour, it is a white flour, but it's not pure white. It has a sort of creamy look to it. But I would say you really want white breadcrumbs for this, definitely. I think wholemeal breadcrumbs would just have a bit too much flavour, be a bit too robust for it. So we've got fresh breadcrumbs. Don't use dried. I'll say that straight away. Do you know you can buy dried breadcrumbs in the supermarket in boxes? Don't use those. You want fresh, definitely, for this recipe. Dried won't work. I'm then going to need some cheese. I've got some extra mature cheddar cheese here. Use whatever is your favourite cheese. You want a nice strong cheese, so that's why I've got extra mature cheddar. I would say cheddar's probably the best bet. You don't want a crumbly cheese like Wensleydale. You want something that's kind of a bit melty, and cheddar is perfect and very easily. You can get hold of cheddar very easily. And then a bit of cream. Now I've got, the recipe says thick cream. I've actually had in the fridge some extra thick double cream, so I'm going to use that. But I think just normal double cream would be absolutely fine. And then again, I'm going to be using the sage in the cheese ones. I'm going to be using some of the onion. The additional thing that I'm going to put in there is some mustard powder into the cheese ones. So I've got some mustard powder. And then if you want it to have a bit of a bite, then you can also put a bit of cayenne into the cheese ones. I don't do that. I just don't find it needs it. There's so much flavour with the cheese and the onion and the sage, and you've got the mustard in there. I really don't think it needs it, but if you want a bit of a kick and a bit of heat, then you can put a bit of cayenne into the cheese ones. And then I've just got my pepper pot here because we'll be using a bit of pepper. The last thing is an egg just for glazing at the end. We don't actually use it within the recipe, we use it for glazing the sausage rolls before they go in the oven. And then I've just got the sort of tools I'm going to be needing. Rolling pin, a cheese grater, and some bowls. Just, you'll have all these, I'm sure, in your cupboards already. So there we go, that's everything we're going to need. So the first thing we've got to do is make the pastry. First job is to make our pastry. So this is a quick flaky pastry. It's dead easy, honestly, nothing to worry about. So first of all, I need to put the flour into my bowl. So I'll bring in the scales. Always use weighing scales when I'm baking. Okay, I'll get my flour. And I need 225 grams. If you're not using spelt flour, you just want a normal plain flour. Oh my gosh, look at that. Did you see that? I got exactly 200, is it 225? It is. I got exactly 225. That's amazing. That's a good omen, isn't it, that? And then I need the butter. Now the butter, I need 175 grams, and on our butter in this country, They're 250 grams, the pack, and you can see they've got these little dividey sections here just telling you the grammage if you were to cut like this. It's very handy in this case because I need 175, so it's sort of in between these two here. So I always just make a little mark in the butter like that and then unwrap it. This has been in the freezer for about 45 minutes, and then where that mark is, you can still cut it even though it's been in the freezer. So I'm just going to weigh that. 172. Oh, I'm really close today, aren't I? So I just need a tad more. There we go, 175. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the wrapper. Wrap it around. Bring my bowl back in. And then I'm going to grate the butter into the flour. In fact, I'm not going to use the wrapper. The reason I'm wrapping it around is because my hands are warm and it might melt the butter, but I'm going to do this quick. So dip your butter in your flour like that and keep dipping it in. And I'm just going to grate it into the flour on the sort of the bit that you would grate carrots with. So just grate it in and you can see it all coming out, and just keep dipping it into the flour, and that'll help it sort of separate as it comes, as it sort of drops down. You'll find it grates really nicely. You'll think it looks like such an enormous quantity of butter, and it isn't a small quantity, let's be honest, but it just looks more because we've grated it. There you go. And then go inside and just get that bit out of there. There we go. So what we've got now is a big mound of butter in the flour, and what we need to do is flick. Just get a knife and then just flick it all through, because we want to distribute all of those strands of butter all the way through the flour. So just do this gently like this. Get right down to the bottom of your bowl. Make sure we use all of that flour to coat all of the strands. And it'll look a bit like, if you know what suet looks like, it looks a bit like suet. So you can see all of those strands of butter are all now nicely coated in the flour. And I'm using a knife rather than my hand because we want to keep everything as cool as possible. Pastry hates the heat. And now, what I've got over here, oh, before I do that actually, I'm just going to add a tiny bit of salt. Now my butter was salted butter, so I'm not going to add very much at all, just a pinch really. Just mix that through. Okay. And then what I've got over here in my jug is some really cold water. It's just tap water, but it's really cold, and luckily it is cold this time of year, straight from the tap. So I'm going to add enough water to bring this together into a dough. I can't give you the exact amount because every flour absorbs a different amount of water, but just add a little bit at a time. I'll show you. So I just normally go around like this, and then go in with your knife and just turn it around. It does absorb quite a lot of water actually, it's surprising. So I'm just going to go back in, put a little bit more around, and then back in again. And you can see it's starting to come together, but we're not there yet. I know from experience with this that it does take quite a bit of water. A little bit more. It's better to go a little bit at a time, because if you put too much in and it gets too wet, it's difficult then to sort of reverse that. You can see it's coming together, but I can see at the bottom we've still got quite a lot of dryness, so a little bit more. Just keep going. And you will feel it, it'll all start to come together as one lump of dough. And if you get any bits that are sort of stuck to the side, just scrape those off with your knife. Can you see now how it's all sort of coming together as one lump? And if you feel it, give it a feel. It's a tiny bit more. This just comes with sort of experience, knowing what it feels like. Yeah, and we're there now, I can tell. Can you see now? It's coming sort of away cleanly at the bottom, and it's all kind of in one lump. So just scrape that off the knife, and then all we want to do is bring it together. Don't sort of knead it or anything like that, and it comes together nicely. Just give it a gentle squeeze, and this, I can feel this is really still lovely and cold, which is perfect. And just shape it into like a big burger. That's fine. And now I'm going to pop this into a freezer bag, or you can wrap it in cling film. And then I'm going to pop this in the fridge. Get it in, there we go. And if you sort of squidge it out a little bit like that, that means it cools quicker because you've got a bigger surface area. So I'm now going to pop this in the fridge for about a good 30 minutes, and whilst this is chilling, I'm going to make the fillings. So I'm going to make the cheese filling first of all. So in my bowl I've got the breadcrumbs that we mentioned earlier. So it's my lovely fresh spelt breadcrumbs in my case. And then I'm going to grate into there my cheese. This is the extra strong cheddar. I wouldn't use like a blue cheese, for example, with this. I really would stick with the kind of plain cheddars, but a nice strong one. There we go. So that's our cheese in there. Then into that I'm going to put my sage and my mustard. So we'll start with the mustard. And we want about, I don't know, I suppose 3/4 teaspoon, something like that. Go with, you know, if you really like a strong mustardy taste, then add more, but I'm going to go with about 3/4 teaspoon of mustard powder. And then our sage, and we want about a teaspoon, I would say, of this. There you go. I'm going to have just a little grating of pepper. You don't need to add salt because we've got all of that cheese in there, and cheese is obviously very salty. And now the onion. I need to add half of this because the other half is for the pork, so just sort of split it in half and add that in. And then the cream. So we want about a tablespoon and a half of this. It is quite indulgent, this recipe, but you're only having a little bit of it, you know, when you eat the sausage roll. There we go. So about a tablespoon and a half of cream there. And now we just need to give that all a really good mix. Depending on the sort of freshness of your breadcrumbs, if your breadcrumbs are a little bit dry, you might have to find, that you might just need to add a bit of milk. That's what I've done before. But it just really depends on your breadcrumbs and how sort of moist they are. So just keep going until everything is mixed. It might take you a couple of minutes. So that's fairly well mixed now. So I'm just going to grab a bit and squeeze it together. That is holding together pretty well, you can see, but I think I will just add a touch of milk. That'll be fine. And then just mix that through. It smells lovely because sage and onion, I think, are just such a classic combination. So if we just again grab a bit, squeeze it, can you see it's come together lovely? So we know that's fine. So that's our vegetarian filling, and now I'm going to do the pork version. This one's a bit simpler. So I've got my pork sausage meat already in the bowl. I'm going to add the rest of the onion, sage, again about a teaspoon in there. And once again, I'm not adding salt to this because I do find that pork sausage meat and sausages, that, you know, if you're using sausages, I do find that they have got quite a lot of salt in anyway, so I don't add any more. But I'll just add a little sprinkling of pepper. You can add more if you want. I'm not a pepper fan, but I do just put a little bit in. And now go in with a fork and give it all a good mush. And it won't, at first it won't look like the onions are going to go into the pork, but it does. Just keep going. And what we're doing here, I think, traditionally you might just make sausage rolls just with the pork sausage meat. But adding the onions and the sage, just take it to another level, I always think. There we go. Can you see now it's all come together lovely? There we go. So we've got our pork mixture and our vegetarian mixture all ready. Okay, so that is our pastry made. It's chilling away in the fridge. Our fillings are also made. So come back in part 2 when we're going to get everything out of the fridge. We're going to roll out the pastry and we're going to create our delicious sausage rolls. So I'll see you back soon.
Now you're talking, young lady. About 40 years ago,
Yummy.
I tried my very first Etty's sausage roll.
Oh, really? Oh, because your mum used to make them.
Christmas for me was about mince pies and sausage rolls made by my wonderful mum. I can see her now in the kitchen in our house that I grew up in. And you'd walk in and there'd just be the light on under the work surface. Because it'd be quite late, because she'd have got in from work or she'd have been out rehearsing for a show or who knows. It'd be quite late and she'd been making them. And every year they were epic. And I don't know when you started making them.
Oh, a long time ago. I don't know. Gosh.
I don't know how you started making them. I don't know what.
I think you just spoke about it so much.
But at no point did I ever say, please make these for me.
Well, no, because you never do that. So I would have just done it. And the recipe that we use is, as I've said, as you would have seen, it's a Delia Smith recipe, and the meat version is called Etty's sausage rolls, and that's Delia Smith's mum's name.
What you've done though with these is you've taken what was perfection and you've taken it up a notch, because as we've spoken about many times, normal pastry is challenging for us to eat.
Yeah.
And by putting in the spelt, you just might have created the combination that's going to take us through for the next 30 years.
I'll tell you what, I mean, even if you can eat normal pastry and it's not a bother to you, if you can get hold of the white spelt flour, honestly, I would really recommend that you try it for pastry, because personally, I think it's better for pastry. Certainly in the mince pies it was, and in the sausage rolls.
We're going to find out, aren't we?
Okay, I won't tell you.
We're going to find out.
I can't tell you. I nearly said what the pastry was like.
We're going to find out how they turn out later on in the show, because unlike the mince pies, this was the first time that you'd done it. Yes, you did a trial run.
I did do a trial run, yeah.
But that was the week before.
Yeah, just to try the pastry. Obviously, the sausage rolls I've made many times, but I had to try the pastry to make sure it was going to work.
Find out how they turn out later on in the show. You seriously don't want to miss it. Oh my goodness. It's just unbelievable. Yeah. That, though, is all to come. Because right now, it's time for us to find out. Kay Jones, now these are very special.
Yes.
What is off your needles? I love that design.
I've wanted to show you these for months. So a few months ago, I mentioned this on the last show actually, but a few months ago I was asked by Sherry Iris if I would like to work with her on her advent calendar this year. And Sherry produces yarn advent calendars every year. And she asked if I might have a pattern that was coming out on the beginning of December that she could actually include within her advent calendar as one of it was on day one. And I didn't have anything particularly in mind, but I said I will design something. I would absolutely love to do that. I love things like this, I love my favourite bit of a design is the thinking process and the coming up with the ideas and the swatching and the finding the right yarn, and it's all of that. That's my favourite thing to do. So I was thrilled and I said, absolutely, I will do this. She wasn't bothered particularly what the design was. She didn't put any sort of rules on it. She just said anything that you want to design would be fantastic. I wonder
how she would have reacted if you'd said, I'm going to do fingertip down gloves. I think then perhaps she might have thought, I wonder if I picked the wrong designer to work with.
So I decided to do actually something that's a fairly small project. And the reason I did that is because, again, this time of year is a very busy time of year, isn't it? And I know that sort of Advent and knitting larger projects with your Advent minis is quite a thing. But I just thought it's to make a nice change, just to have something small to knit. And you can knit it with some of your Advent minis if you want to, or conversely, you can knit it with just a plain yarn. And I've got both versions to show you here. Now, Sherry's Advent calendar is themed around a story that she's created. And that story is set in foxglove wood. So I had that thought in my head, and I really wanted to sort of connect it to Sherry's Advent. I didn't want it to just be a sort of random thing. I wanted there to be a connection between the two. So I came up with a design that I've called the Foxglove Cottage Mitts. So it's a pair of fingerless mitts, and the design on it is inspired by foxgloves. And you'll see it is up on Ravelry now for purchase and on Lovecrafts, but you will see on there, and I did actually post on my Instagram as well, I came up with the idea of it. It's not a story as such, just the idea and the inspiration, and I wrote that on the front of the pattern. And that also connects a little bit to Sherry's story as well. So I will show you the mitts, I'll pop them in my hand. So I did two versions. I did a solid version, and then I also did a sample using some of Sherry's minis, just so you can see what both of them look like. And within the pattern, it's written just for the pattern is sort of written just for a one colour version, but then at the end of the pattern there's a page of instructions on how to work it if you want to use minis.
Who's going to get these?
Right. So if you purchase Sherry's Advent calendar this year, her yarn Advent calendar, this pattern, there was a download code, a free download code for Ravelry on your day one. So it's now the 3rd of December as we publish this show, so I'm quite happy to put this out there. You know, if you had that Advent calendar, you will have opened day one by now, and if you wanted to, you will have gone and downloaded the pattern. So I can show you the mitts. So like I say, if you got Sherry's Advent calendar, you'll have this pattern for free as part of it, but anyone can now go and buy the pattern if you would like to. It is up on Ravelry and it's up on Lovecraft, so you can go and purchase this if you want to. So here are the mitts.
Look at those.
Oh, I love them.
Who's going to get these actual mitts?
Bryony will get these mitts.
Woohoo! That's great. Oh, she'll be thrilled.
I'm going to give
Has she seen them?
No.
Oh, she's going to love it.
No, she hasn't. Well, she might have seen them months ago.
But she won't remember.
She won't remember. I'm going to give these to her when she gets home from school today from her first day of doing her mock exams. Oh, so that'll be really nice because she loves fingerless mitts, and I do too, actually. So yeah, look, they've got this gorgeous lace panel that works up the front of the mitts that was inspired by foxgloves. And it's so nice to work. They've got lovely thumb gussets. You can see it there. And just a pleasure to knit. So that's the solid colour, and I used an Eden Cottage yarns. I do use Victoria's yarn quite a lot. I certainly have this year for designs.
That's the lady from Eden.
That's Victoria from Eden Cottage Yarns, because she produces such lovely tonals. And if I show you the back of the mitt, can you see how pretty that is? And this colour from Eden Cottage is called Flowering Currant. And it reminded me of foxgloves. I think you can pretty much get this exact colour in foxgloves. So that's the solid colour ones. And then I wanted to just knit up a sample just to show you what it would look like if you used your minis. Now, these minis are Sherry Iris's minis, but these ones I had in stash. They were from various sort of mini skein bundles that I've purchased, and Sherry has sent me some as well. And I just picked some out that I thought would work nicely together. So, you know, if you've got one of her Advent calendars, you could use I used 6 minis here, so you could knit a pair with 6 minis, or you could actually use 12 minis and have each mitt different. So this was the version using some of Sherry's minis, and I think it's absolutely lovely.
Gorgeous.
And you can see on the other side what they look like just in the plain. So I've used the same colour for the cuff here and the cuff here, and then there's 5 colours working through.
And who's going to get this mitt?
Well, I haven't knit the second one yet. I admit I haven't knit the second one yet, but I've got all the yarns still, so I do need to knit that second one. So you can see it looks lovely. I think it's so pretty.
I like the blue into the yellow in particular.
Yeah. So in the pattern it tells you exactly how I've done this, and just the slight sort of modifications I made to accommodate the minis, which isn't really that many modifications. The stitch pattern works brilliantly well with the minis. And I actually designed the stitch pattern with that in mind, because I knew I wanted to show what it looked like using minis. So I designed a stitch pattern that I knew, like I said, the number of rows would fit perfectly on a sock. So that's the two versions.
Perfect.
Of the Foxglove Cottage mitts.
Which are available to buy now.
Yeah, available to buy now. So it's fingering weight, lovely pair of fingerless mitts. It doesn't use much yarn at all. It's about 45 grams for the pair that I used. There is only one size in the pattern. It's to fit a sort of hand 7 to 8 inches in circumference, which is generally an average sort of lady's hand. However, you can easily modify these by just going up a needle size or using a yarn that's slightly thicker if you need it slightly bigger. And that is in the pattern as well. That is detailed in the pattern, how you can do that.
Cool.
So it's just one size and it's priced accordingly. So that's the Foxglove Cottage mitts. And thank you to Sherry for, just us working together. It's been lovely. We've been chatting about it for months, so it's been fabulous.
So we've been to Foxglove Cottage.
Yes.
Now it's time to head back to Bakery Bear's cottage to find Kay in the lovely kitchen to see what these gorgeous sausage rolls and cheese and onion rolls are going to taste like. Mm-hmm. So let's get back to Kays Handmade Christmas.
Welcome back, everybody, to part 2 of Kays Handmade Christmas, where we are creating the fabulous sausage rolls. So it's time now to get the pastry out of the fridge, do a little bit of rolling out, a bit of measuring, but nothing complicated, don't worry, and to fill them, get them in the oven, and then of course we'll have to taste them. So let's get the pastry out. So here is our pastry out of the fridge. I've put loads of flour down, as you can see, on my surface because we don't want this to stick. And the first thing I'm going to do is try and make it into kind of an oblong shape. Just do your best with this because it won't stay exactly as an oblong, I always find, when you roll it out. But if we start off roughly sort of as an oblong and just keep shaping it as we go, we stand more of a chance of getting a good shape. And what we need to do is roll this out, keeping it in this rectangle shape. We want it to reach a size of about 40 centimetres by 30 centimetres. I've got a little tape measure here. It doesn't have to be exact, just there or thereabouts. I find I can't really judge it by eye, and I do need to sort of measure it as I go. So make sure you've got loads of flour under there, and then start rolling. So I just go sort of gently like that, and after I've each roll, whilst it's sort of small like this, I just reshape it as best I can. You'll find the corners just curve naturally around. Like I said, just do your best because we can always trim it up after. And I'm just always making sure there's plenty of flour underneath it so it doesn't stick. Just keep going until we reach that 40 by 30 centimetres. I'm not good with centimetres, I'm not quite sure what that is in inches, but the book says centimetres, so I just measure it in that. It's a really well behaved pastry, I always find. I don't find that it cracks too much. Just take your time, keep reshaping it until you reach that size. So we're almost there now, and what I'm doing is I'm just using my hands just to ease out the corners, just to try and get it into that nice shape that we're after. So let's just measure that. 40. Yep, 30, we're there. So what we need to do now is just cut this into 3 even strips. So So I use a serrated knife. I find that doesn't drag it as much. So before you cut it, I just kind of do this by eye, just sort of measure it. That looks about right, doesn't it? Maybe a bit further in. And then just go along and cut that like that into 3 strips. And then what I'm going to do in this instance, because I'm making 2 different fillings, I'm going to cut the middle one in half. So basically we're doing 1.5 rolls of each of the fillings. If you were, for example, you were going to double each of your mixtures, you would then just fill all 3 with the same mixture. So I'm just going to cut this middle one in half. Now, if you were actually making these for a vegetarian, I would recommend that you do them separately. So half your pastry, roll that out to obviously be to a smaller dimension, and then do that one, and then do your meat afterwards, just so that you don't have any chance of sort of cross-contamination of the meat. We're not vegetarians, so I don't mind doing them, preparing them together. So I'm going to do the vegetarian mixture first. Over here I've got 2 baking trays which I've covered with some foil. So I'm going to use one for the pork and one for the cheese and onion. They would probably all fit on one, but again I don't want to cross them over because you will get meat juices coming out of it. So I've got 2 baking trays, and my oven is preheating up to about 200 degrees C. Right, so I'm gonna grab handfuls of the cheese mixture and squish it, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it into like a sausage basically. So just squish it in your hand into like a sausage. It doesn't roll too well, you saw then, it will tend to crumble a little bit if you try to sort of vigorously roll it into a sausage. So just squeeze it gently, don't worry if bits fall down onto it, that's fine. And then just start to lay it in the centre like that. And then grab another bit. I find that I can't do this all in one go. I have to do it in bits because I just, you can't handle it very well into a larger amount. So I just do it a little bit at a time. So just keep going with your cheese mixture until, as you can see, I'm just joining it together until you reach the other end of this first strip. And you can see my pastry here is a bit shorter, but don't worry because we can just pull on that a bit, you'll see anyway. So it's now time to do the pork one. Now with this, you'll find that this is much stickier than this. So what I actually do is I just sprinkle it in flour, and I also just rub a bit of flour on my hands because it is very sticky. So I'll just take the first bit, and what I tend to do with this, so you can roll this, but I tend to just pop it on like that and then pull it across. Find that much easier, so I'm just leaving a little gap at the end. Just pull it across like that. A bit more to take it to the end. There we go. And then the other bit is kind of fun to get your hands in with this. I'm just going to split it into 2, but it is very sticky. So start near the edge there and just pull it out like this. And I know this needs to go about halfway. There you go. The other half. Stick it on. And just pull that out. So the pork I find is much easier to deal with, but they're both fine actually. Okay, so what I need to do now is get my egg. So I've just beaten this up in a little bowl and run it along one side here. And this will just help it stick together when we fold it over. So just go along one edge of each of the strips. And there we go. And now we can fold them over. So I'll start down here at the bottom, and I tend to start with the cut edge like this. Now just sort of stretch it over like that and stick it down. Stretch it over and stick it down. keep going all the way along. And then we're going to roll it, and as we roll it, it'll seal that edge, but we've really stuck that down like that. Now roll it over. These ones, you'll find that the vegetarian ones are really quite firm and they're nice, you know, they're not tricky to manoeuvre or anything. Just roll it over so that the cut side is on the bottom, and then I just sort of go along, giving it a squidge like that. Cool. And then I'll do the other cheese one. So again, fold it and bring it over like that. Stick it down. Got plenty of flour on there though, don't worry about that, it's fine. Roll it over like that, and the cut side is on the bottom. And now onto the meat ones, exactly the same. Fold it over. These are much more sort of soft and squishy, but that's fine. I just tend to sort of tuck it in like that as you fold over. So tuck it in so that then the pastry completely covers it on the bottom. And then the top one. And fold it over like that. There we go, so now we need to cut them. So what I do here actually is I have a little bit of flour over here, and I keep my knife, this is a serrated knife, and I keep my knife sort of coated in flour on the edge, and that makes the cutting much easier. Again, you'll find that the cheese ones cut through really nicely, the pork ones are a bit squidgier. So the first thing I'm going to do is just neaten up the edges, so I just take off the two edges here, and then just go along, cut these into whatever size you want really. I tend to go for about this. I don't know, what's that? I don't know. Maybe 2-3 inches? No, maybe 3 inches. Do them whatever you want. If you want really bite-sized ones, you can go tiny, but I tend to go about there. And as I do these, I'm going to pop them over onto the baking sheet. So that's all the cheese ones looking lovely. Now we can do the meat ones. So again, I'm going to chop off the ends. And it's these ones in particular I find if you coat your knife in flour, it's really helpful. So I'll put these onto the other baking tray. Okay, so the last thing to do before they go in the oven is to give them a few little snips and then to glaze them with some egg. So I'm going to do the cheese one first so I don't get meat on the cheese. So we're just going to go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And the reason we do this is to let steam out, so it'll give you a crisper pastry. And the final thing to do is just give them a little bit of an egg wash. This will just give them a really nice colour. So that's them all glazed and ready for the oven. So I'm now going to pop them into that preheated oven. So it's a nice hot oven, about 200 degrees, for about 20 minutes. Just keep an eye on them. You'll know they're done because they'll be really golden and the filling will all be sort of bubbly and lovely. It's time to try them, and I've got a cheese one here. So, and I've got some of Delia's Christmas chutney, you know what I'm like with that, so had to have a bit of that with it. So let's try it. The pastry is so crispy, honestly. It just sounds delicious. So here we go, still warm from the oven. I'll just have a little moment. Oh my goodness, so delicious. I cannot imagine anyone not loving these. And if you want to make the chutney as well from Delia, they just go together so fantastically well. Absolutely love them. Last thing to say about them is you can freeze these. Just let them cool down completely. Put them into, polythene boxes, plastic boxes. Store them in the freezer. And then all you need to do is just take, if you want a couple, say with your lunch, just take them out, let them defrost at room temperature, and then pop them back in a hot oven just for 5 minutes, and they'll be absolutely perfect. And both the cheese and the meat ones freeze fantastically well. So you can make a huge batch now, pop them in your freezer, and you'll have them all ready for Christmas. Or, well, that's if they make it to the freezer, of course, because once people smell these cooking, if you've got, children in your house or husbands or wives or whatever, then there might not be any left to go in the freezer. Absolutely delicious. So I hope you all enjoyed that. I hope you are all going to run off now, get your ingredients and make your own delicious sausage rolls. So happy Christmas everyone, and I will see you back soon for the final Kays Handmade Christmas.
Ladies and gentlemen, what you just witnessed was perfection. Because let me tell you, those sausage rolls are mind-blowing, but the cheese and onion rolls are even better.
I prefer the cheese and onion ones.
And I think I probably do too.
They're just amazing. Really fabulous, and I hope you could hear just how crispy the pastry. Honestly, I've never made it, both with the mince pies and with the sausage rolls now. I've never made pastry that's come out as crispy as this pastry.
The bottom line is, if I had a hat on, I'd take it off to you and your spelt flour pastry, because...
Well, I didn't invent it. I'm sure people have made pastry with spelt flour, is what I mean.
I'm sure they probably have, but we've never seen a recipe for it.
No, admittedly, I've never seen a recipe for it, but I guess there must be.
And you were the one who thought, I'll make the pastry using the spelt flour and see if that goes.
Just see if it works.
So stop denigrating your own.
Okay, but honestly, it's so crispy.
Because that is the one thing that you...
Quite light as well for pastry. It doesn't feel super heavy, does it?
That's the thing. Look, I love white bread, and I couldn't eat it because it has a terrible effect on me. When you eat white bread, I don't know anyone who says after they've eaten white bread, it doesn't feel a bit heavy on the tongue.
It sits heavy.
It does.
It's lovely, isn't it? White crusty bread, delicious.
Spelt white crusty bread tastes better, and it sits completely. And
I've nailed the bread now, haven't I? The spelt bread.
And we're saying no more about that because the spelt bread will be appearing in a brand new series which we're producing next year.
Yeah, and I've spent months trying to perfect this spelt bread, and I think I've cracked it now. Yes. The last few loaves have been...
Don't change anything.
No, I'm not going to change anything.
You don't need to, because you've honestly completely cracked it.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing. But what you're looking for in a pastry is you're looking for thinness, crispiness, does not want to be soggy in the slightest. No. And one of the problems has been, with the sausage rolls in particular, sometimes the pastry could be a little bit on the soggy side.
Yeah.
These are...
No, it hasn't been soggy at all. Yeah.
They're thin and crisp and even.
Ah, like snow.
Like the song, which is Deep and Crisp and Even.
Deep and Crisp and Even.
I can't even remember which carol that comes from. Good King Wenceslas looked out.
Good King Wenceslas.
On the Feast of Stephen.
Yeah, just sing it now.
Just gorgeous. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Go and make them, everyone. Run to your kitchen.
And who would have thought?
Go and get some spelt flour. If you're in this country, you can get it from Sainsbury's, or I use the Dove's Farm spelt flour. You can also
get it from Ocado.
You can get it from Ocado, or you can buy it directly from Dove's Farm. I've done that before as well.
And, ladies and gentlemen, Kay mentioned the Christmas chutney. If you are interested in making that chutney, we did produce a video years ago, which we've completely re-edited. We've done lots of lovely things to it, and it's going to be coming out on day 8 of this year's Baker Bears Advent Calendar. And I can tell you that you can make that chutney and eat it straight out the jar.
You can.
So
I've absolutely done that, and I do it every single time. Delia says keep it a month. Yes, you should keep it a month. I don't.
You just don't need to.
No.
So day 8 is a special edition of Kay making her Christmas chutney.
Yes.
Kays Handmade Christmas, 2 episodes down, 1 to go.
1 to go.
And you don't want to miss the 1 to go because, yes, she may be baking, but she's also going to be making.
I'm going to be doing a little bit of very kitschy craft.
Yes. Don't miss it.
It's
be
like an ode to the... I don't know
to Christmas past.
Yes.
It's going to be marvellous.
Absolutely.
It's going to be marvellous. Don't miss it. That's coming out when we see you next time. Right now, though, it's time for the Endy Bits.
Endy Bits.
Now, you have got some things.
Yes, I forgot to mention something last time.
Yes.
Can you remember I've been working on my modified stitching time blanket, which is this one that I've shown you a couple of times now. Well, I forgot to mention last time, but I'd actually amended the pattern now, the stitching time blanket pattern. So this is my original.
So all the people who message you asking about how you went about that.
Yes.
Now they can.
Yes, and
if they already had the stitching time pattern, they'll have had the update.
Yes, if you already bought this is the original stitching time blanket pattern. This is the actual blanket. So there's 12 blocks on this, themed around the months of the year. This is the original one. I then subsequently made this one, which was slightly modified in that it just has 4 squares. And now I'm doing that heavily modified one. So what I've now done is I've added in a page at the end of the stitching time blanket pattern, which includes that new modification that I'm working with, the thin brown borders.
Cool.
So if you bought the pattern originally, you will have received the update via Ravelry. If you wanted to knit that modified version, now you can go and buy the stitching time pattern, and it includes that modification. So you can purchase it either on Ravelry or Lovecrafts, and you will get that modification. Now, if you've purchased it previously on Lovecrafts, I'm not sure whether you will have had an update. I didn't think you got updates on Lovecrafts, but somebody's since told me that Lovecrafts said that they do updates. I don't know whether that's the case or not. I've not actually got feedback from anyone to say they got that. But certainly if you are new to the pattern and you want to go and buy it now, you can buy it from either of those places and you will get that update.
Cool.
Yeah. And then the last thing I want to show you is we spoke about the advent calendar.
And the exclusive My Favourite Colourways.
Yes.
A whole episode.
And I thought I would show you the 2 yarns that I dyed up in that exclusive My Favourite Colourways, because we're now on day 3.
So this is cast on day.
So this is cast on day.
So if you are a Bakery Bear patron, if you haven't watched the today's
cast on
Bakery Bears Advent Calendar 2021, I'd stop watching the show.
Well, I won't tell you what the pattern is. Let's just do that. I won't tell you what the pattern is just in case. I'm just going to show you the yarn.
Cool.
And that's not giving anything away.
No, because you dyed that up.
Because I did that yesterday.
Yes.
So these are the 2 colours that I dyed in the special My Favourite Colourways. And I did say in that My Favourite Colourways, which was yesterday, I did say the colourway names. So I'm going to say the colourway names again now, and that really does, if you're in the know, you will know what the theme of the design is. The pink is called Laura's Hair Ribbons, and the blue is called Mary's Hair Ribbons. So that's all I'm going to say.
Beautiful.
So some of you out there will know straight away what the inspiration is and what the theme is for this year's design. But those are the 2 colours.
And if you're now itching to find out how Kay dyed those, we've mentioned today a lot of the Bakery Bears Advent Calendar. If you want to find out how you can join us every day from now right the way up until the 24th, just follow the link in the show notes below to the Bakery Bears Advent Calendar 2021, and you can find out how you can get access to that every morning. We're also currently putting together our Christmas issue of Knitability. Our editor Jen is working super hard on that. That's going to be coming out in the next couple of weeks. Our radio show is back next week with a special show where we talk about all our favourite festive music. Ooh. We also mentioned some of the ones we don't like too. Yes. Which I think is really important, isn't it?
Yeah.
We did the same on the films one.
Yeah.
We spoke, the episode before that, episode 50, we spoke about our favourite Christmas films and also the Christmas films we don't really like very much.
No.
So we followed that up with one all about music. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is it.
Wow.
What a wonderful show. It's been wonderful to see you.
Yes.
And we will be back in 2 weeks.
Yes, for me it'll be all about the Christmas projects. I've got new things I want to cast on, and so I'll be showing you those and telling you all about them. I've got ideas in my head. I can't wait to cast them on. I've just got things I've got to do. Got to do first, so I'm gonna, yes.
So we hope you have the most wonderful time over the next 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
Try and enjoy every moment.
Yeah, enjoy opening all your advents.
Yes.
Yep.
And we will see you in 2 weeks for the next wonderful episode of the video show, which will feature the last in the current series of Kays Handmade Christmas. And it's going to be a cracker. We'll see you then.
See you soon, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Sitting and knitting, it's Dan and Kay, the bakery players. Enthusiasm's not quitting for Dan and Kay, the bakery players. They'll take you to fabulous places of which their favorites they'll share. You better buy a pattern and get yourself a bakery bear. You'll find yourself in a castle while watching the bakery bears. It never feels like a hassle to sit and watch the bakery bears. What's on your shelf or what's in